So these are some of the objectives. We're going to go through the time cards module, the reporting module, any questions, and the training resources. So by the end of the session, you'll have a better understanding of how to create new hourly employees and manage their time cards in Gate 3. Some of the prerequisites prior to entering time cards in Gate 3 is there needs to be a position profile associated. Same with an employment company, and payroll handles this. Once we go into the time cards, into the module, I will show you where you can find that. And then the financials have to be in order. So cost accounts need to be in your project, budget lines and billing lines need to have been created. So this is just a visual on how the financials come together. So you can see here you have cost accounts and then a budget line. Typically the PM will create the budget line and link that to a cost account. And when a budget line is created, automatically a billing line is created as well. Now there is time cards module configuration. So this is in the Gate 3 settings. And typically this is should have already been configured at project startup. But I'll go in there quickly just so you can see what it looks like. So to access your settings, you would click on Start, Administration Settings, and then it'll take you to this view, Settings View, and then you're going to scroll down to Field Management Time Cards, and you're going to open that. Time card generation. So you can have Gate 3 automatically generate a weekly time card. You can come in here and take a look if your project has allowed the system to generate weekly time cards. You can copy the data from the previous time card into the current time card. So that would be in here. So let's continue. Employee and time card process. This is the process for time cards. The first step is the corporate payroll department. They associate the position profile and the employment company. And then the next step is you have to create, either pull up that existing employee or create a new employee, and then associate that employee to a project profile. So it's really looking for that existing employee or creating that new employee and linking it to a project. And that's done by creating an employee profile. Okay, and then you get the time card, system generated time cards, or you can create a manual time card. Okay, so I'm going to go into Gate 3 as superintendent role. And just so you're aware, in order to access the time cards module in Gate 3, you must have superintendent role. Okay, so this is the home screen. Once you're in here, you want to navigate over on the left-hand side to Field Management and select Time Cards. And then from here, you would access your project. So I'm already in mine, but if this was your first time going into Gate 3, you wouldn't see any projects listed here. You'd have to click on More, type in your project. That's an example. I'm already in there, but just to show you. And then you would select Project. Okay? So it just took me back. So let me go back to Time Cards. So I just want to point out here, for those of you that are not aware, this is the new Gate 3 interface. So we do have some modules that are in the new Gate 3 interface. A lot of them still reside in the old Gate 3 interface, and Time Cards is one of those modules that still reside in the old Gate 3 interface. So you'll notice that they look a little different. This is the old Gate 3 user interface. And again, from here, if you want to access the time cards from within the old Gate 3 user interface, you'd click Start, Field Management, Time Cards. Okay, as we're in the new Gate 3 interface from the home screen, we clicked on Field Management, Time Cards. As soon as I go into the Time Cards module, this is your default view. It's Hourly Time Cards Draft, so Draft Time Cards. And here you can see that here's the project number, my project number, project name, the employee number, their first and last name, unit of pay, payroll frequency, employment status. So here it could be either active or terminated, employee type, Is it full-time, part-time, temporary, pay period, start date? Is this employee on vacation? Is this their last time card? It will all be listed here. Their position profile. And if you keep scrolling to the right, you get additional information. Their payroll rate. Any adjustment rates will be displayed here. And then time card rates adjustments will be displayed here. We'll get into that. Okay, and so it's all listed here in the default view. You can also use these filter text boxes if you want to narrow your search. So you could type the unit of pay, someone's first name, you could type in here. I'm not sure if I have. So Ashley, all Ashley's time cards appear here. And another thing I want to point out in the screen, at the bottom here, you will see show results. It's always a good idea clicking on show results, because right now in my view, I only have one of 20. If I click show results, I actually have one of 245 time cards here. And then if you want to expand this view, you can do that here. All right, so now we're going to go in and we're going to create a new employee. So you do this typically when you receive a new hire package from People and Culture, and then you'll log in, go into time cards, and then come in here and click New Employee. So based on that hire package that you received, you're going to populate, add information in this section. This, you believe, the system generates the employee number, so you don't have to do anything in here. Here you'll specify the unit of pay, so I'll just go ahead and select hourly. Employee type, so in this case, I'll just select permanent full-time. Here you'll see employment status, terminated. Leave it as terminated, because once we link this employee to the project, it will then change from terminated to active. So when you're creating a new employee, just remember that the status should remain as terminated. And it's when you link that employee to the project that the status will change, and I'll show you that. So let's start entering some details here. So let me add Kelly, Canada. In Ontario. And you would enter the home phone number, their email, this original hire date, last hire date. All these other fields or options here is purely informational. So if they worked with Ellis Don before, you can add the last hire date or original hire date, recommended for hire, purely informational. Now right here, multiple position profiles. Leave this as a default, leave it as no. This is only to be touched by payroll. So this is asking you, does this person belong to multiple unions? Payroll will take care of this, so you don't have to touch this. Number of dependents, medical insurance number, that is purely informational again. Emergency contacts, so whatever is listed in that hire package, you would add their emergency contacts here. So I'll just put spouse, and then any other information here as well. Okay. And then that's all you have to do here in this section. One last thing you want to do before you go ahead and save this is come over to attachments, and you want to attach that hire package, download it, and then upload it into Gate 3. So you would come over to attachments and then click attach file and attach that file, whatever it is. Okay. If you are not done with this section, you can always save as draft. But if it's done, then you would go ahead and click save. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. Okay. So now you can see it is now under review. It's with payroll to review this new employee. So at this point, I have to wait till it becomes active. So I'm just going to sign in to my other account so I can approve this. So let me just go into, give me a second. So this is what payroll would be doing. Payroll would come in here, click on this review button, and either approve it or revert it. If it gets reverted, you will receive an email with a link. And if, I'm going to go ahead and approve this and just move this out of the way. Now, if they had reverted it, you would go into this employee, to this contact in time cards module, click on workflow. And then if there's any comments as to why it was reverted, it would be in this section here. But you can see here that I've approved it. So I'm just going to back out. I'm going to refresh this because now it should be active. So this is the more or less the back button. Okay, now I'm going to view. Okay, and there is Kelly. And if you want to see the status in the screen, it's right here. So it is no longer under review. It is active. Now you can see it still has a status as terminated because the next thing we have to do from the new menu is create an employee profile. And creating an employee profile is linking this employee to your project. So let's go ahead and do that. So right here, employee profile, you see you have 3 options here to select from. So payroll, this will not be associated to your project billing. This is Ellis Dawn paying the employee or own self-performed. Billing, this will be associated to your project billing the owner, in other words, and both allows you to select whether a time card is billable or not. Typically, it's payroll that is selected here. So I'm just going to go ahead and select payroll. And now you can see when I click new employee profile, the status, project employment status has automatically changed from terminated to active. Country of employment, that's Canada here. Video. Is this person on vacation? No. If they were, you would select yes. Employee start date on project. So let's say tomorrow. And here you're going to select that employee that you're going to be linking to your project. And in this case, it was Kelly. So let's look for Kelly. If you did not create a new employee or do not have an existing employee in the time cards module, you will not see it in this pop-up. So you'll have to do that first. Okay, but we have Kelly McDonald here, so we're going to pull her in. And then right here, this is what I was talking about earlier from the time card slide that I showed you. These are prerequisites. So a employment company and a position profile needs to be linked to the project. So you want to ensure that the employment company is linked to the project. So if you click here, when you click select company, if there is nothing here, you need to speak with payroll because it's payroll's responsibility to link the company. So in this case, I have D3. You would typically see Ellis Dawn here. I'm just going to pull in the company. Okay, and same with position profile. So if this was blank, you'd have to contact payroll to add these position profiles. And pay is tied to the position profile. So every position profile, there is a payroll rate. Okay, so both those sections are mandatory because you can't even save it as draft if nothing is displayed in this pop-up. Let's go ahead and select Toronto Labor. Okay, so just to review, when you click on these blue hyperlinks and there is nothing in those pop-ups, please contact payroll because they need to link that company and position profiles. And then you would just go in and input the employment company position profile. On the left-hand side, so this is what we reviewed right now or entered. So if you look up here, project, employee, employment company, and position profile. Next thing you want to look at is the emergency contact. So this would have been pulled in from when we created that new employee. You can see here Matt McDonald, spouse, always a good idea to have as much information as possible. And then you have the next section here, payroll salary. So this is pulled in based on that position profile. You do have the ability to also add a payroll adjustment if needed. So maybe, as an example, premium, working night shift, if it's project specific. You can add a payroll adjustment for the cycle of the project, or as long as the employee is working on that project for the whole project. You can do a payroll adjustment here. So if I were to put maybe an extra $5, you'll notice the adjustment here. And now it's $37.58. I'm just going to put that back to 0. Okay, so once this has been reviewed and any information entered, you can go ahead and save it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. So again, it has gone under review, payroll review stage. So this has gone back to payroll. So I'm going to have to go into my other account just to approve it again. So just bear with me a sec. And right here, I'm going to click review. This is what payroll would be doing. If it looks good, they're going to go ahead and approve it. If they wanted to add any comments, they can add comments here. So once this gets approved, the super will receive an email notification that the employee is now active. Let me back out to the main view. Let's go to View Hourly Employees. So now you can see here's the second status. So this was the first one for when we created the employee in the time cards module. And this was when we created that employee profile and linked it to our project. The status is now active because it's been approved. So one thing I want to show you is, in this case, because this is a brand new employee, the system has not yet generated a time card, automatically generate time card. So you would have to actually create a time card. But before we do that, I just want to go into the hourly time cards draft again. If it is the following week and I set the system, configure the system to generate the time cards, next week, Kelly's generated draft time card will reside here. So let me just open one here. So what you would do is, so here's all the hourly time cards draft. So for example, let's use Brad Wilcock. Let's open up his time card. You're going to click Edit. And then come over to Earnings. And then just input the time, the information, and the hours. Okay. In this case, we have to create one on ad hoc. So to do that, we're going to go to Hourly Employee Profiles, look up Kelly, click on Create Time Card. Okay, so now we're in here. So what we have to do is come over to the left-hand side, click on Payroll Salary. And you'll notice in here as well, there is a time card rate adjustment. So this is on a time card by time card basis, as where the other one that I showed you in the employee profile is project specific. This is time card by time card. So maybe this person, this employee worked nights this particular week. So maybe we're going to, up it again, $5 as an example. And final adjusted payroll rate. Okay, if you had to do that, you would do that in here. Then the next section, earnings, this is where you're going to start adding the hours. So you would come over to type of time, and you would select from one of these types. In this case, I'll select straight time. You also have to select a cost account and a budget line. I'm going to go ahead and select a cost account. So let's just do... And now assign a budget line. Okay, if you clicked on assign budget line, and again, there was nothing in this pop-up, please let the PM know, because then they would have to either create that budget line, or if it's already created, link it to the cost account. In this case, there is one linked. I just have to come in here and select it. And this is where you start inputting the hours. So let's just put straight 8 hours, Monday to Friday. So maybe this person worked overtime, and depending on the type of union they belong to, it could be time and a half or double time. So I'm going to go ahead and select time and a half over 40 hours. And maybe here they worked an extra 2 hours and here an extra 2 hours. So this line, time and a half, and this is straight time. And again, I have to also select the cost account and the budget line. If this has been set up to be generated automatically, then the next week, and copied from previous, the next week that you come into Kelly's system-generated time card that's in draft, this information will be in there already, but you can make the adjustments as you need. Now, in this section, other, maybe this employee took a course or a WMIS certification, or, maybe we need to pay this employee for mileage for whatever reason. You would add that expense here under payroll component. Here I only have 2 payroll components. In the live environment, you'll have more options. So I'm just going to go ahead and select benefits. And again, you have to select cost account. You would have the proper cost account here. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can, what I've got here. And budget line. Okay, so this section is entered as a dollar value. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just put one total of $100. Okay, and then it totals it. If there was any others, you would add that as well. Okay, and then here, attachments. So if there's a timesheet to attach, you would come over to attachments and again, click on attach files and attach that timesheet or, a receipt if we are paying out for any expenses incurred. So that would be here. Okay, so once this has been completed, you can go ahead and submit this to payroll. If you're not done, just save it as draft. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. Now, in the live environment, it will show as under review again. I'm in the training environment, so it just goes straight to active, but it will go under review. And then once it's been paid, I'm just going to back out. If you want to see if this employee has been paid, you can go into view, hourly time card saved, type in the employee's first name or last name. And then if you scroll to the very far right, if a check has been issued or the employee's been paid, that check number will be noted here in this view. Now I want to show you if you have to terminate an employee or maybe someone's retiring, how to do that. So I'm going to go to View, Hourly Employee Profiles. I'll just type in, okay, and then I'm just going to click Open here. Okay, it's in this section. So hourly time cards draft. And then you would click Edit, and right here, last time card. Okay, so last time card description, I'll just put retirement. And then employee last date on project, we'll put Friday. Okay, I think you get the idea here. I'll just put retirement here. And then you'll have a drop down here, termination reason code. You'll have more options than I do in the training environment. So I'll just go ahead and select retirement. And then you would just come over to earnings and then add the additional hours to pay the employee.